So welcome to Current Affairs for the Prelims 2021 Indian economy. In that we are going to deal the first topic, that is banking and monetary policy. So here, first of all, there was a news about your incremental CRR. That is old news, but still there is one term related in the February, that is called CRR exemption. It is called CRR exemption for 5 years. Now, they can ask you, what is the relevances of the CRR? See, first of all, the CRR is generally the cash reserve ratio. That means the amount of money in form of cash out of the NDTL, that might be 3% now, out of the NDTL that has to be kept with the RBI. It is called as a CRR, cash reserve ratio. Now, cash reserve ratio will assist in money multiplier. Money multiplier, that is your M1, M2, M3. So CRR will assist in the money multiplier, number one. Second point is that CRR, SLR provide protection or buffer during the bank run. Okay, during the bank run, what happens? Both the CRR and your SLR will protect from the bank run. Okay, it is called bank run. Bank run. That is, whenever there is an emergency, whenever depositor wants to pull out the money from his bank account at once, mainly due to the fake news or rumors. See, whenever there is a fake news in the market that this bank is having a problem, so if a person goes, a depositor goes and demands the money, and the branch or a bank is unable to pay him because of the various reasons, crunch of cash, etc., then he will go out and he will say, this bank is having some problem, ये बैंक के साथ कुछ problem है, you go and demand your deposits. If you don't get it, then there is something problem with this bank. We need to go to ATMs to withdraw our money. That is called as a bank run. So bank run, to avoid such bank runs, to avoid such failures of the banks, bank generally CRR and SLR will be helpful. Now, during the demonetization, there was an incremental CRR. So incremental CRR means from the certain date, that is from the whatever the date, okay, from the June 2016 to November 2016, whatever the deposits that are there with the banks, what are the deposits which are there with the banks, that has to be kept with the RBI. And for that, RBI will not, they will pay only interest rate, but RBI will not give the securities. Okay, this is the thing. But what is this news is about, you see, what is the difference also we'll see. See, CRR is the percentage of money which a bank has to keep with the central bank. The SLR is in the three forms: cash, gold, and G securities, government securities. Mainly, the banks will try to keep the SLR in the government securities so that the banks also will gain certain amount of interest out of their deposits. Because if they keep in the cash, it will be running ideal. That is the thing. Then cash, mainly you see, cash here, gold, securities, and your cash. Okay, then effect, it controls excess money flow in the market, that is in the economy. If CRR decreases, money supply increases. If money supply increases, can I say interest loans on interest will become or decreases. More people will take more loans will increase. and there is a high chances of default also. But if there are genuine business persons, then I can say that these loans can be utilized for their investment, and the economic growth rate will take place. And also you see, maintained with RBI, maintained with bank itself. It helps in meeting out the unexpected demands of any depositors by selling the bonds. Okay, so whenever you are dipping 1% in the SLR, that is called as marginal standing facilities. Standing facility. It is a part of your OMO, that is open market operations. And the open market operations, it is nothing but your LAF, liquid adjustment facility scheme. Under this scheme only you are dipping it. So liquidity in the economy, credit growth in the economy, interest, bank do not earn any interest on the amount deposited. Bank earn interest in the SLR. See here, how? By giving the securities. See what will happen generally. What will happen? Suppose you have a bank. You have a bank, and in this bank you have cash. A lot of cash is there. So this cash, for example, 100 crores or 1000 crores of cash is there, which is idle. And this has to be, cannot lend the loan. He cannot give the loan also because it is in the form of SLR. So banks, what they do, the government needs a lot of money. So government will ask the banks to give the cash, and the government will provide him G security. So generally the G securities are kept with the banks, right? So they earn interest rate on the whatever the cash they are producing, right? Now this is year one. And what are the CRR exemption for 5 years? February 2020, it was in the news. That means those amount of money, okay, like for example, you see, for example, if the CRR is there, CRR is nothing but, suppose if this is a bank and there are deposits with the bank, and out of the total deposits, total, that is NDTL, net demand and time liability, 3 to 4%. For example, this is 3%. 100 rupees is deposited, 3% is kept in the CRR form. 3%. That means 3 rupees are kept in the CRR form, and also 18% is kept in the SLR form, and 18 rupees. So total 100 minus 21. So 79 rupees the bank can lend the loan. Okay, this was the situation. That means if the CRR increases, more amount of money has to be kept with the bank, right? This is the situation. Actually normal CRR SLR works, but in the CRR exemption that has been given for 5 years. 5 years. What do you mean by this? That means if the banks are providing loans for automobiles, okay, residential housing, or to the MSME sector, okay, to these three, from 2020 to 2025, the CRR has been exempted from that. That means no need to maintain the CRR. So you can subtract much of the loan amount from the deposit while CRR for the next 5 years. That means if the banks, here what will happen? The banks are giving more loans now. Under this, for the next 5 years, the banks are giving more loans to 3 sectors: automobiles, residential housing, etc. 3 sectors. Then they have to keep CRR lesser CRR, and this will increase the loan amount. Loan will be increased, and it will be profit for the banks and more profit for the business activity, and economic growth rate will take place. This is the situation. And also in the March 2020 itself, in March 2020, the CRR has been reduced and from 4% to 3%. So this is about your CRR and SLR. Next, we will see about your long-term repo rate operations. Now, what are these long-term repo rate operations are? First of all, what do you mean by repo rate? See, what is repo rate? First, what is repo rate? Then we will see what is long-term repo rate. See, yeah. Repo rate is nothing but, suppose this is a bank, and this is an RBI. So the rate at which the RBI pays interest to the banks for lending, from taking the money from the banks, is called as a repo rate. Like, for example, simply, banks will give cash and RBI will provide G securities, government securities. Okay, that means here what is happening? This is a G security. That means the cash for this, the interest rate will be paid. Interest rate will be paid by the RBI, and these repo rates are simply short-term loans. Short-term loans. What are the long-term loans? Long-term loans is a bank rate. Long-term loan is your bank rate. Bank rate this is. And these are your short-term loans. Repo rates are short-term, right? Generally, this will be to 56 days, 14 days, 28 days, etc. So this is your repo rate operations. Now, generally, if there is an inflation, simply if the inflation is high, repo rate has to be changed. If the repo rate changes, automatically the amount of money supplied from the bank will decrease. And also, money supply decreases, automatically inflation will be under control. So repo rate change, if you changes the repo rate, automatically your inflation also will come down. So this is also one of the operations. This is one of the operations in the liquid adjustment facility by the banks. Now here, in the last year 2020, what happened was the long-term repo rate operations. What is this long-term repo rate? Now, what are this long-term repo rate? Usually, repo rate is for overnight 14 days. Generally, you know, this is for overnight, that is 1 day to 14 days. 14 days. So RBI announced long-term here. Long-term. What do you mean by long-term here? Long-term means that is, till now, the loans were given for short duration, 14 days, 28 days, and up to 56 days. Now, long-term repo rate means simply the loans will be given for a 1 year to 3 years. From the 1 year tenure to 3 years tenure. And total, you know, 1 lakh crores of loans in various rounds, you know, minimum one, that is 1 lakh loans in various rounds will be given to these clients, and can also apply minimum, you know, minimum the loan can be applied is 1 crore of rupees minimum. Okay, interest rate will be here on the long term, the interest rates will be prevailing on the repo rate. Interest rate will be prevailing on repo rate. So in that particular, if the loans are given during that period, the loans are given, that means interest rate will be decided based on the repo rate. So long-term repo rate means here interest rates are decided based on the repo rate. The repo rate for, if for example, a person A is taking the loan in the month of Jan 2021, then during that period, what will be the repo rate? Based on that repo rate, the companies will be given interest rate. Number one. Second is the interest rates are calculated compound. They are compounded annually. They are compounded annually. Annually, they are compounded. Number one. Clear. And also by this, what will happen? See, actually, the long-term repo rate, why the government wanted to thought of this long-term repo rate? It is because simply, can I say if I give the loans for longer period, loan amount or loanable funds will increase, loan fund will increase. And if this increases with the banks, can I say it will lead to economic growth in the economy. So MSF is for, generally it is a short-term period, short-term. Repo rate is short-term. So lending will have to continue. MSF, those, see, long-term repo rate operations will be different from repo rate as well as MSF. This is nothing but this is interest rates will be on floating rate. Floating rate. It is a floating rate here. These are short-term. So long-term interest rates will be floating. They are floating rates. Floating rates which are dependent on repo rate. If the repo rate changes, this will also change. This is about your long-term repo operations. So now we are going to see about the Operation Twist. Why it is in the news. Operation Twist first appeared in 1961 in the US, and the US Federal Reserve have used it. Reserve has used it. And 2019 RBI also done it. Officially called as Special Open Market Operation. This is called as Special Open Market Operations. And central bank, what they do generally. So see, suppose you see simply there is a person A who is a foreigner. Okay, foreigner. And there is a Tata, Ratan Tata. Ratan Tata. And Ratan Tata, what the Ratan Tata says, sir, please subscribe or please invest in our bonds. I will issue you corporate bonds, sir. Please invest in this. Corporate bonds. I will invest in the corporate bonds, sir. Please invest in our company. Then what the foreigner says that, see how much you are giving. Corporate bonds says that Ratan Tata says, sir, I am giving 7% interest rate. Okay, I will use your invested money for buying new factory, so that, see what I will do, I will, whatever you invest my money, investment which are there, these invested money will increase further and it will lead to economic growth. And if this is your economic growth increases, can I say it will generate more jobs? Jobs also increases. Poverty decreases in this case, right? So this was the situation that Ratan Tata said. But you see how much they are giving interest rate? 7%. But now what happened? Foreigner said that, sir, if I invest in the government securities, securities. What will be the scenario here? If I invest in the government securities, government is providing me at 0.6.75 percentage, just less than 0.25 percentage. So I will invest in your company. Foreigners will say that I will invest in your company if you give me 9% interest rate. Okay. And if I invest in the government securities, the risk is also very less. But if I invest in you, the risk is very high. So in that situation, I will try to invest in the government securities rather than in your companies. Then what the governments start doing, whatever the government side, what they will do, they will start buying. Okay, they will start buying government securities, short-term government securities. You know, the government securities will be brought, they will buy it, buying government securities which are short-term. That means what will happen? Can I say that from the banks or from the here, the government securities has been withdrawn. Now where they will invest? They will not invest anywhere. Foreigner says, oh, government securities now has been withdrawn. Okay, number one. Second is that when the government securities, demand is rising for the government securities, so government securities yield will fall. So it will less attractive to keep money in the government securities or parked in the government securities. So RBI says, or the government says that we will try to remove that. That means government securities are withdrawn. That means they will buy these government securities. Right now, what they will do, they will sell. This is short term, and government will sell long term government securities. They will sell it long-term government securities. Okay, so one second. Here they will sell. Sorry, they will sell here. They will sell here. One second. They will sell short-term government securities, and they will buy the long-term government securities. So long-term government securities are purchased and short-term government securities are released into the market. Now this will, by selling this, they are easing the interest of interest rates. Interest rate, what will happen? Interest rates of long-term papers, easing of the interest rates of long-term loans or long-term this thing. So what they will do, they are easing it. That means they are reducing the interest rates on them. Now the investors will say, oh, now I will start investing. Now I'm ready to invest in the corporate banks of Ratan Tata. Sir, I'm ready to invest at 7%. You give me, no problem. So this is nothing but, operation twist. Actually, what happened? The commercial bank, aim is bring long-term yield lower. Concept was drawn from US Federal Agency and objectives to strengthen the US dollars at that time to stimulate cash flow in the economy. Same thing what happens. Actually now, whatever our commercial banks are there, commercial banks are reluctant to lend money to the private sectors. They are not giving the money. Why they are not giving? Because of the problems of bad loans, NPAs, etc. Because of the bad loans, NPAs, they are unable to give. So if companies could not borrow by issuing the corporate bonds, then there will not be more jobs, no production, no GDP. If the company is able to, now what they have to do, they have to buy the long term. So what happened? Short-term securities of 1 year and higher tenure odds of 10,000 crores. Okay, short-term securities of more than 10,000 crores have been of 1 year. This is a government securities of 1 year. 1 year and higher tenure. Higher tenure. Higher tenure has been sold by the RBI. And what they have purchased, long-term government securities, that is 10 to 14 years of government securities they purchased. And when they purchased, this is called as special operation or special open market operations or operation twist. Twist means what? They are selling it and buying it. So because RBI or government have buying the long term, their demand, what will happen? Their demand will increase. Which demand will increase? Government securities demand increases and price will also increase and yield will reduce in this case. So 10 years of government securities are just yielding 6.75 to 6.6%. It is better to go for short-term borrowings, cheaper borrowings for, and now what will happen if such cases takes place? Such cases are taking place. That means banks are reluctant and government, that is RBI, also selling the short-term bonds. In this case, what the foreigner will ask, foreigner will say, sir, it is better to invest in the corporate bonds. Corporate bonds. If they are investing in the corporate bonds, foreigners are investing in the companies, in the private companies, what will happen? Their companies will get more capital will increase, then it will leads to more money supply, more growth, and also job increase, employment will increase. Right, this is your operation twist. This is called as an operation twist. Right, so RBI reserve list. Okay, RBI has revised priority sector lending guidelines. What is the priority sector lending scheme is all about? See, priority sector lending scheme was started by the RBI in the year 1968 to give priority to certain sectors and to certain people so that they will have a growth amongst the others also, with the competitive with the others. Like for example, in the farming sector, farmers, we have small, we have marginal, we have medium, small, or marginal, small, medium, and large farmers. In this case, generally the preference will be given to the large farmers so that whatever the losses which are there, the losses can be incurred. If the loans, if there are any defaults, that can be incurred, or any losses due to the unseen monsoon seasons, that can be incurred. Or if there are startups and well-established business, the banks will give to the well-established business only to grow the startups also. Now what the RBI has done, RBI introduced this scheme called as a priority sector lending scheme. Now under this, all the commercial banks has to lend 40% of their loans to the priority sector lending scheme. And in this priority sector lending scheme, we have agriculture, we have your MSME sectors, weaker sections, education is there, then also your renewable energy, all these things are included in your agriculture, the priority sector lending scheme. And also in the agriculture sector, small and marginal farmers has to be given 8%, and the remaining farmers, so out of 40%, 80% has loans has to go to this sector, agriculture sector. So like that they have been given, but now the RBI has revised the guidelines for this, and 2015 some reforms were made in the year 2015, some reforms were made in the PSL, and 2019 there was a committee. 2019 there was a committee, and the committee name is called UK Sinha Committee. Sinha Committee on MSME loan reforms. And few others committees have suggested reforms in the PSL also. So 2020 September month, the RBI came up with guidelines to reform this. And what are the reforms? The first reform is mainly, see, in the exam they will ask you which of this PSL are there, which of the following are the PSL. Like last year there was a question about the priority sector lending scheme. This year they might ask you about the which areas they have been newly included also. So two things here, we have to know which banks are giving and where the increase or decrease has taken place. Like for example, weaker sections, for them the percentage increase from 10% to 12%. And for big farmers, it has decreased from 10% to 8%. But for small and marginal farmers, small means those who are having up to 2 acres, greater than 1 hectare, and less than up to 2 hectares. For them, marginal farmers up to 1 hectare, and also marginal farmers up to 1 hectare. For them, it has increased from 8% to 10%. That is there. And also, food processing industries, it has been reduced, but new sectors has been added. What are the new sectors are? Simply, first is startups. All startups have been included in this PSL. Previously, only food processing startups and MSME startups were included, but now all the startups, they can give the loan up to 50 crores of rupees. Okay, 50 crores of rupees they can provide the loan for them. This is one sector. Startups, all the startups were included in this one, up to loan amount of 50 crores. And also renewable energy loan amount has been increased up to 30 crores of rupees. Previously it was 15 crores. And also in the healthcare projects, it has increased to 10 crores of rupees. This is the thing. Now question is, which types of banks reforms has been brought by the banks itself? Like for example, you see, in the Indian schedule, that is Indian scheduled commercial banks, they have to implement 40% of your PSL, priority sector lending scheme, 40% of the PSL. Second, foreign banks whose branches are more than 20 branches, they have to follow the same procedure what the scheduled commercial banks are following. And if the foreign banks are having less than 20%, they have to follow 40%, but no need to follow the percentage like this, 8%, 10%. They can give the loans to anybody. Okay, but they have to give 40% of the loans to the priority sector lending scheme to anybody. And the next thing is regional rural banks, RRBs. They have to provide 75% of the loans to the priority sector scheme. RRBs mainly 75%. And small finance banks also, finance banks also 75%. This ratio is this percentage is important. And urban cooperative banks, recently urban cooperative banks have been brought under the RBI regulations. Previously there was a dual regulations. Now it has, I will tell you in the upcoming class. So UCB, urban cooperative banks, it has increased to 75%. 75%. Okay, so this is one. And the rural cooperative banks, it is not applicable. It is not applicable. To whom it is applicable? Urban cooperative banks, scheduled commercial banks 40, foreign banks more than 20, 40, and RRB 75, small finance bank 75, urban cooperative banks increased to 75. Previously it was 40. Right? So this was about your priority sector lending scheme. So this priority sector lending scheme, you know, mainly one more thing here, that see, whenever there is a certificate also, that is called as a PSL certificate. They can trade the excess amount. Like for example, SBI has implemented more than 50% of your PSL norms. The excess 10% they can trade with the other banks also. That is called a PSL certificate purchase. And those banks which are shortfall of PSL, you know, the banks which will regulate them is your RBI. Okay, so PSL shortfall money will be regulated by the RBI, right? So in case of RRBs and etc., it will be regulated by your NABARD. Okay, so this is a thing. Now we'll go for Banking Regulation Amendment Act, right? Banking Regulation Amendment. What are these regulations that are being made in these banks? So Banking Regulation Amendment Act, okay, 2020. Now recently Parliament has passed this Banking Regulations Amendment Act. Just a minute. Okay. Now, see here, this Banking Regulation Amendment Act, which was passed in the September or October month, it has been June month. In the month of June, it has passed. Okay, June ordinance was passed, and in the September month, the act was passed by the government. Now, what are the main objective of this is? Objective is to protect depositors, prevent cooperative banks from failing. And how does it fail, etc. We'll talk it. Okay, we'll talk now. Generally, you see that the cooperative, how these cooperative banks works. First of all, we have to know how this cooperative banks works and what are the amendments. First, we have to see the amendments also, and what we have to see the differences between the cooperative banks and the other banks. So first of all, what are there in this? Actually, commercial banks which are there, they are being regulated by the RBI under this act. And cooperative banks, single state, that is single state, which are there in the single state only. Okay, single state only. and there that too in the rural. So I can say rural cooperative banks. Cooperative banks, they are regulated by your RBI plus state government. It will be regulated by RBI and state government. Rural regulative banks, sorry, rural cooperative banks. But urban cooperative banks, now, previously it was a dual regulation. It was dual regulation. Dual regulation means previously it was a dual regulation. Who urban cooperative banks are having dual regulations. What are the dual regulations? RBI plus your state government was dual regulating it. Now completely it is under the RBI only. RBI will only regulate it. And also, if there is an urban cooperative bank, like for example, urban cooperative banks in multi-state, more than one state, that will also will be regulated by RBI only. RBI only. RBI will regulate completely under the RBI regulation. Sorry, Banking Regulation Amendment Bill 2020. It has been completely given to the RBI. But primary agricultural credit society will be regulated by state governments. It will be regulated by the state government. So state governments has an authority in this. Now, how this cooperative banks run? You see, what are the cooperative banks? First of all, see, cooperative banks, they are registered. There might be single state cooperative banks and also multi-state cooperative banks. Multi-state cooperative banks. Multi-state means more than one state. Single means it is in the single state only, right? So cooperative banks are the financial entities. They are based on cooperative. That is, they belongs to their members only. So what was a fraud and how it was occurred, I will tell you. Yes, second. Now, see here. The cooperative banks, suppose they are the financial entities. Financial entities. They are run based on the cooperative basis. Cooperative basis. Like for example, A, B, C, D formed the group of a bank called a cooperative banks. They are, and this belongs to the members only. So that means the customers of the cooperative banks are the owners of it. They are the customers and they are the owners of it. Mainly these are the owners of the cooperative banks. So broadly there are two, that is your rural and urban. So urban cooperative banks are registered as cooperative society. Okay, they are registered under the cooperative society. See, cooperative banks are registered into two types. One is called state. Under the state, you know, there is a Cooperative Society Act. Cooperative Society Act. So under this, they have been registered. So they are concerned of the state. And if they are multi-state cooperative society, there are multiple state, more than one state, multiple state, they are registered under the Cooperative Society Act 2002. And if they are registered in your center, okay, register and management related activities of the registered cooperative societies in more than single state, the single state, and also in the center also, if there are center also, then they are registered under this CRCS, called as Central Registrative Cooperative Society. Central Registrative Cooperative Society. They are registered under this. So it is a case of multiple state UCBs. Right? Now, what is the difference? I'll tell you that. Now, what they have done is simply under this, if they are the amendment, what they have done is under these banking regulations, insurance of shares and securities of cooperative banks. Suppose there is a cooperative bank, UCB, Urban Cooperative Bank. Now, if any members, whoever they are members, like for example, there are members 1, 2, 3, and 4. If the persons, if they want the money out of this bank, any person who is taking the loan from this bank and the members of that UCB and owners of the UCB, then it will be under the RBI approval. So RBI has to approve that loan if the banks are taking these, if the owners are taking or members are taking this UCB. Like for example, many members they are taking and they are defaulting it. So the banks are running under the failure or fraudulentities that are occurring. So what happened now? Whatever operations which are there or persons residing within the area of operations, they are subjected to the prior approval of the RBI. Okay, number one. Second is power to exempt cooperative banks. First was what? Issuance of issuance of shares and securities by cooperative banks. Cooperative banks, they are under the approval of RBI approval. RBI has to approve for whatever the securities they are giving. Okay, if the person wants to sell, buy any kind of securities, then they have to get the approval of RBI, number one. Second is power to exempt cooperative banks. Okay, second is power to exempt cooperative banks. And under this, RBI may exempt cooperative banks for certain provisions of the act through notification. They can, through RBI notification, they can prohibit or they can exempt also. That is a power they have given under this Banking Regulation Amendment Bill. Okay, Act. Then third one is supersession of Board of Directors. Board of Directors. That means RBI may supersede the Board of Directors of multi-state cooperative banks for up to 5 years or under certain conditions also. That means they will supersede. There's the third thing. Fourth one, the Act allows the central bank to initiate the scheme for amalgamation. Okay. See, sometimes amalgamation, combining. Okay. See, sometimes, banks without placing, see, what the bank RBI will do, generally RBI will do a moratorium. Okay. Without placing under the moratorium, RBI central bank can impose moratorium on the banks and also lender. See, whenever the RBI imposes moratorium, they are placed under the moratorium. That means this bank or whatever UCB is there, they cannot lend the money to anybody. They cannot lend the money. So lender cannot grant any loans or make investment in any credit instrument during this moratorium. So without moratorium also, the bank can go for amalgamation. That is there in the Banking Regulation Amendment Bill. And also 3 things have been exempted from this. What are the 3 things are? First one, Primary Agricultural Credit Society has been exempted. PACS has been exempted. Then cooperative lands mortgage banks have been exempted. Cooperative banks mortgage of lands has been exempted. And also any cooperative societies, they are not been specified in the Banking Regulation Amendment, they have been exempted from this act. So here we have to know what is the cooperative society, where they are registered. They are registered under Cooperative Society Act. If they are multiple state, they are registered under Cooperative Society Act 2002. And if the shares and securities has to be issued to any other persons, then that persons are subjected to the RBI approval, or any owner, they are subject to the RBI approval. Number one. Second thing is that the RBI can notify certain exemptions for the cooperative banks from time to time whenever they are being, and they can amalgamate also without giving banks under the moratorium. What is moratorium? If the RBI is placed under the moratorium, any banks, the banks cannot lend the loans to anybody. That is the thing. So this is about the Banking Regulations Amendment Bill. I'll talk about what is this difference between them, RRBs, and also commercial banks. I'll tell you. Okay. Right. Next one. See, under the banking regulations, power to make scheme for amalgamation, insurance of securities and shared by cooperative banks, management qualification, exempt certain provisions, restructuring of BOD, Board of Directors, removing some provisions also. These are there by the RBI. On whom? On the urban cooperative banks, whether it is a single state or multiple state. So where these cooperative banks are registered under the Cooperative Society Act 2002. If they are in the central, they are registered under the Central Registration Cooperative Society. In case of multiple state UCBs, they are, in case of multiple state UCBs, they are registered under the, they are registered under the CRCS, Central Register Cooperative Societies. This is about your Banking Regulation Amendment Bill. So what are the exemptions which are being given? Remove some provisions. See, exemptions to certain provisions like PAC, Primary Agricultural Credit Society, has been exempted, number one. Second, cooperative land mortgage banks has been exempted. Bank has been exempted, and also other banks which are exempted, except others specified in, which are not specified in that, they are been exempted from the RBI regulations or from this bill or act, right? So next one, you see, what are RRBs? We'll see. What are the RRBs? What are the recent changes that has been made? Right? Now, listen carefully. What are these RRBs actually? Okay, just a minute. Just a second. Okay, we'll see. Now, generally, RRBs were established. Actually, what is this RRBs? Now, why it is in the news? Okay, regional rural banks. Now, before this amendment bill, they were exempted from the liquid adjustment facility. They were not allowed under the liquid adjustment facility. So RRBs now they can access for liquid adjustment facility and also marginal standing facilities, and also they can go for call and notice money. Call and the notice money. So at present, this window was not permitted to access the liquidity of the RBI. but now they have been permitted. Now, first of all, what is this? See, call money liquid adjustment facility. Liquid adjustment facility is nothing but your OMO operations, right? Called as open market operations, under which we'll have two things. One is a repo rate and the other is a reverse repo rate. Reverse repo rate. These are the thing. And MSF is simply marginal standing facility. Under the marginal standing facility, see, what is a marginal standing facility? I'll explain. See, marginal standing facilities are, suppose there is a company called as Reliance Industry, and this Reliance Industry is having a lot of cash deposits with your bank, any bank. Okay, for example, SBI. And SBI is having no extra amount of cash, but they are having a cash in the SLR, which cannot be taken or removed, because if you take and remove it, or if you use it unless and until RBI permits, then there will be penalty. But Reliance Industry need urgently cash, and they approached the SBI, and they said, sir, give me cash because I'm having a lot of this thing, lot of accounts with you, so I need urgent cash. So SBI said, sir, at present we don't have cash. Then what the Reliance Industry will say, I will shift my accounts to other banks. So unnecessarily they are losing the customer. So in this case, the SBI will approach the RBI. RBI said, under the MSF scheme, marginal standing facility, you dip 1%. You can take 1% of NDTL by dipping into SLR. Okay, SLR. So you can take the money for the SLR and give it, but the overnight, this will be a very short term, overnight, 24 hours. So next, within 24 hours, you have to fill the SLR. This is called marginal standing facility, and marginal standing facility is a repo rate plus 0.25% extra. That is called a marginal standing facility, right? Now, what is this RRBs are all about? See, RRBs, regional rural banks, have been set up mainly, they have been set up as a state-sponsored banks, and they are mainly regional based and rural orientation institutions. So they are regional and rural based institutions. They are mainly established under the Rural Banks Act 1976, and they are regulated by the RBI, but supervised by NABARD. So whom they will give the loan? Generally to the PSL. Priority sector for RRBs are 75%. How much? 75%. Who has the ownership here? See, 50% central government, 15% state government, and 35% sponsors. Okay, sponsors. So this one is there, right? So 17% is this one. Now what they do generally, they serve the credit needs for small marginal farmers. You see, they are serving the credit needs of small marginal farmers. Number one, agricultural laborers, socio-economic weaker sections of the population for the development and for trade, commerce, industry, and for other. Mainly these RRBs were established, for making regional balance, and they have been much restricted the outflow of regional deposits to urban area. They have been restricted so that most of the deposits has to be taken place only in the regional rural banks rather than going into urban areas. Now, what are the issues they are facing? Mainly, the issues they are facing is inadequate finance, high overdues, poor loan recovery, lack of technological procedures. So all these have made the RRBs to fail. Actually, RRBs has been set up based on, RRBs has been set up based on Narasimham Committee recommendation. Narasimham Committee recommendations in 1975 and 1976 it was established. So this was about your RRBs, right? Regional rural banks. Next, we'll see what are the other things, what are the cooperative banks, how they work, etc. Okay. Now we'll see about on tap license to private banks or private sector banks. Now, why it was in the news and what are the things? See, now under this one tap license to the private sector banks, now a private can open a bank only after getting the license from the RBI, under Banking Regulation Act 1949. Banking Regulation Act 1949. Under this, they have to get. Now, for this, they have to wait for application. The RBI has to invite for the application. Then RBI, see, last time the RBI noted the notification is 2012, like your UPSC. Whenever UPSC gives the notification, then you have to apply for it, then you can write the exam. But now the licensing for the private banking sector is like a driving license. Whenever you want, you can apply it under the Banking Regulations Act. Now what happened? Now no need to wait for this. Under on tap system, which was introduced in the year 2016. Okay. Now, what are the conditions for that is, first conditions is the residential, those who are involving in the banking regulation, private banks, it should be resident of India, resident of India, comma, or it should be NBFCs, non-banking financial companies, comma, or it should have a private company. Then only they can open it. Number one condition. Second condition, minimum, 10 years of financial experience in banking or financial sector. This is the second condition. Third condition is the proposed bank shareholdings will be initially should be controlled by Indians only. Fourth one, it must have willing to open 25% of the branches in the rural area. Mummy చెప్పు. So what happens here, under this 25% is the rural banks now, and also the minimum capital paid up or paid up capital should be 500 crores presently. And you know that this is the thing. This is the main requirement for the banking license to be obtained. So in the year 2012, the paid up capital 500 crores and also 10 years of experience. So small and finance banks, a new class of banks were also decided for the financial inclusion we have seen under the recommendation of Nachiketar Moore committee. So what is the procedures you see here? See, what is the procedure is to open a bank is now, first you have to register a company, any company, whatever the company is there, with Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Corporate Affairs under the Companies Act, and the minimum paid up capital is 500 crores of rupees. And for this, if you want to issue shares in the share market to acquire certain amount, you need to take the permission. Like for example, there are in a company A, what is paid up capital? I'm telling, in a company A, there are 100 shares, okay, or 100 crore shares. Each share is 10 rupees, so 10,000 crores of rupees. Now for that, out of this, you have issued 500 shares you have sold in the market, and that is cost is 5,000 crores of rupees. But the shareholders are not ready to give 5,000 crores of rupees or 10 rupees on each share right now. You asked, sir, just give me 5 rupees instead of 10. Instead of 10, give me 5 rupees. So 500 into 5. That is 2,500 crores of rupees you are getting. This 2,500 crores of rupees is called as a paid up capital. And to issue these shares, you need to take the permission from the SEBI. Okay, this is a main conditions of the bank, and minimum 500 capital, this is thing. Now, after getting permission from the SEBI and shares, after getting 500 crores of rupees as a capital, paid up capital, then you need to apply for the bank license under the one tap facility scheme. And RBI has to satisfy 2 conditions for that. Okay, satisfy for giving license, and you will be called as a non-scheduled commercial banks. And that bank is called non-scheduled commercial banks. And what are the 2 conditions here? First one, minimum paid up capital should be 5 lakhs condition, and already you have condition, that condition is applied. Second condition is that your bank has to run based on the interest of the depositors, and to see whether you are running, it will take some time. The bank has to take some time, and RBI will observe your bank business for certain years or months, it depends. And based on the satisfaction level of the RBI can provide you the license. So this is the thing. But you know that there was one committee formed in the 2020 June called as PK Mohanty Committee for a corporate structure of Indian private sector banks, corporate structure, and it recommended allowing the NBFCs, corporates, and housing banks to apply for banking licenses. Now, there are some arguments which are against and favor. You know, again, what is a favor argument says? Competition will increase, better interest rates, customer services. And second thing is that the existing balance sheets of the banks have deteriorated because of the scams and bad loans. So banks are reluctant to produce or provide new loans to the existing business. So if you are not lending the loans, slow in lending the loans, so lending the loans to the business, what will happen? Simply the growth rate will be reduced. So what happens? The entry of fresh or new banks will provide more license to, if they are providing more license to private banks, more loans will be going to the business activity and it will lend. But there is a problem. You know, banks like shadow banks, again, we will tell in this topic what are shadow banks. Banks like the shadow banks, IL and FS, and other shadow banks, there is a crisis, you know, IL and FS crisis of the shadow banks. I'll discuss that later. So there might be a crisis also, and to put under the control effective, the chances of the scams increases, etc., will take place. Okay. Second thing is one more against neutrality is one more against this corporate governance in the large housing is not inspired or confidence. Okay, and also the money can be misused in the private banks. The money can be misused for money laundering by the big industries, and these industries they can use for their own business and they can default it. That is an argument that can be put forth. So these are the some of the things that can be put forth in the banks. So the cooperative banks. Just now I told you about the cooperative banks. Generally, these cooperative banks will be regulated dual regulations were there. Dual regulations. From the state government as well as from the RBI. What happened now? See, if they are registering, they have to register with Cooperative Society of the state of Cooperative Society Act 2002. Single state under the Cooperative Society Register of Cooperative Society Act. Society Act 2002. And if they have to be registered with multiple states, they have to register with Center Register for Cooperative Society. And their urban cooperative banks are been completely under the regulations of RBI now. RBI, and also the cooperative banks 75% loans has to go for PSL, Priority Sector Lending Scheme. This is there, right? Now, what is the difference between your regional rural banks and local area banks? Okay, like RRBs, regional rural banks like RRBs and your local area banks. What is the difference you see? First of all, I'll tell you the difference later. What is the difference between regional rural banks and local area banks? We have to know the difference. Okay, see here. Regional rural banks and local area banks. See, mainly it was based on the Narasimham Committee recommendations. 1976. First is it is based on the budget 1996 by Finance Minister Manmohan Singh at that time, and it was set up under the RRB Act 1976. Okay, and it has been amended in 2015. Voting powers like your union, central, because they have the ownership, central, state, and the private owners or the sponsors. How much? 50%, and this was 35 and 15%. So the voting powers has been amended. Like for example, best example I can say is Uttar Bihar Grameen Bank. Sponsored bank is Central Bank of India. Okay, and you know here mainly, unlike the RRBs, they are not set up by the union or state. They are set up by the special act or parliament. But the private entities simply applying to the RBI under they can apply under the RBI Regulation Act 1949. Third point is they are subjected to CRR and SLR norms, but RBI could prescribe the separate norms also. But here, you know, they are subjected presently, you know, maximum 3 geographical contingent districts, only 1 urban center per district, 1 urban center. Second, here non-scheduled banks. So CRR, they are non-scheduled banks. Non-scheduled banks. So while CRR, SLR and PSL will be applied based on the the RBI will prescribe it. Okay, RBI will prescribe. Fourth one, they are restricted to few districts, but here they are mostly initiated in most of the Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, etc. They are restricted in few districts only. They are regulated by RBI and only regulated, but there is another supervisor for them, RRBs, that is called NABARD. But here they are only regulated by RBI. RBI regulates them. Okay, this is a major difference between your this thing, right? Now you see, what is the difference between payment banks and small financial banks? That is a major thing. See, first of all, payment banks. What is an example for the payment banks? Payment banks examples are, I can say, Airtel, Indian Post, Paytm, Jio. All these are Jio Money, etc. All these are your payment banks. Okay. Okay, payment banks. Sorry, I have written payment banks here. Just a minute. Actually, it should be written here. And examples of small finance banks are Capital Small Finance Banks, Punjab, or Ujjivan Banks, Karnataka, Utkarsh Banks in UP. These are some of the banks which are there in the small financial banks. Now, what is the difference? Main difference is simply who are eligible, who are not eligible. Okay, first one, small finance banks, generally they have to get minimum 100 crores as a capital. 100 crores as a capital. Okay, minimum capital. But here also the payment banks also should have 100 crores as a minimum capital. Okay, now our area where they can work, where they can penetrate, small finance bank, they have given selection preferences, like for example Northeast and Central India, where universal bank penetration is very poor in this case, right? But the payment banks, they can go anywhere in the country, right? And also the payment banks were established based on the recommendation of Nachiket More committee, and this has been recommended based on Usha Tharoor Usha Tharoor of the former RBI. Now, small financial banks has to maintain same CLR, SLR, repo rate, FDI. But special conditions, see, for the payment banks, special conditions and terms in the SLR. Special conditions in the SLR. Okay. So they are based on the Nachiket More, same as the SLR, CRR, SLR, etc. has to be maintained by the same as a small finance bank, but special conditions will be given by the RBI, terms and conditions in the SLR. Okay, this is the thing, payment banks. Now, rural, they have 25% of the banks has to be settled in the rural areas. Payment banks, no need to, but 25% access point must be in the rural areas. Here 25% access point in the rural areas. Okay, this is there. Then what is the other thing? They can invest only their money in the government securities. They cannot lend the loan. But small finance banks, they can accept a deposit without any restrictions. They can accept the deposits. This they can accept deposits here, but they cannot accept. Who? Payment banks cannot lend the loan. Small finance banks can lend the loan, and that too, 75% of the loans has to go for PSL, priority sector lending, and 50% of loan portfolio of 25 lakhs more. Okay. And they cannot lend the loan. They can invest in the government securities. Debit card, both will provide the debit card. Debit card will be provided by them, and them also they will provide. But credit card, they cannot. Credit cards, they cannot provide, but they can provide the credit cards. Yes. So this is a thing. And also, after 5 years, the small finance banks can become your universal banks or commercial banks, right? And also, that Basel III norms is applicable to small financial banks and your payment banks. Basel norms, Basel III will be applicable to both financial banks, small financial banks, and payment banks also. Payment banks also. This is the things. Okay. So this is the difference between your payment banks and this one. What is the difference between NBFCs and this one? What are the difference between the NBFCs and this one? We'll see now. Okay. Before that, 1 second. Okay, we'll see about the gross non-performing assets of the banks. What is this gross non-performing assets, etc., etc., NPA, and what are the other issues with the banks? So first of all, actually, if you look at the types of loans based on the borrowers, first type of loans is borrowers are prime borrowers. Who are prime borrowers? Prime borrowers are those who have the capacity to pay back the loan or repay the loan. Okay. Second is subprime borrowers. Here, such persons does not have the capacity to repay. Okay, but based on the teaser rate loans or teaser rate loans, they lend, teaser home loans to subprime borrowers. And these subprime borrowers are also responsible for global financial crisis. Now, what are the teaser loans? See, teaser loans are teaser loans. Teaser loans, in the name itself, it is there. It is teasing. The interest rates will be, in the initial years, the interest rates will be very low. As you progress, interest rates are increasing. So first year, it might be 2%. Second year, it might be 3%. Third year, it might be 4%, like that. So in the initial years, it will be very less interest rates, and they will tease to take the loans from the banks. So these teaser loans have attracted more number of borrowers, in the year 2007 and 8. So what happened? But they are called as a loans to the subprime. That means they have taken the loan, but they are unable to pay it. And these are mainly individuals. And what happened? When they have taken the loan on the teaser loans, interest rates, they are unable to repay, and that led to the crisis in the 2007 and 8. That is called global financial crisis. Okay, global financial crisis. And the third type is your over leveraged borrower. That means companies has borrowed too much, but its ability to pay back is very less. That means it is a high ratio of debt to the equity. high ratio of debt to the equity. Okay, this is a third type of borrowers. Fourth type of borrowers are called zombie lending. Who are zombie lending? See, they are weak banks giving loans at a subprime or over to the over leveraged borrowers. Subprimers or over leveraged, they know that they cannot able to repay, but still they are lending these loans. They are called as zombie lendings. Okay, so what happened till mid 2000? There was a booming period in the global economy. So what happened? Most of them, they have taken the loan, and in the year 2007 and 2008, it led to the subprime and global financial crisis. Indian exports decreases, and also the government policy failed, paralysis, judicial activism, environmental activism came, project delayed, companies faced difficulties in finishing the projects and repaying the loans. So by 2013, 1/3 of the loans which were taken by the companies have become a bad loans, right? So balance sheets, balancing many of their large companies, balance sheets, and public sector banks, balance sheets became weak. Balance sheet became weak. That means assets and liabilities became very weak. This is called as twin balance sheet syndrome. Balance sheet syndrome. Twin balance sheet syndrome. That is because the companies were unable to pay due to various reasons like policy failure or due to the global economic crisis. The companies are unable to generate the growth. They are unable to pay back their loans. So balance sheets of the companies have destroyed, and balance sheets of public sector banks destroyed. That led to twin balance sheet syndrome. Now, in this case, you see what is the gross NPAs here? Gross NPA assets. They are telling gross NPA assets. What are these gross NPAs? So gross NPAs are nothing but grand total NPAs. Okay, total NPAs. They are nothing but total NPAs. But there is one more term called as a net. కిందికి వస్తున్నాను చెప్పు. So there are net NPAs also. Net NPAs means there is a term called as net NPA, and net NPA is gross minus provisioning. Now I'll tell you what do you mean by provisioning, etc. I'll tell you. Okay, just a minute. So see here, opening NPAs in 2000, it has been reducing. So over the period of time, it has been reducing. If you see this notice, that NPAs has been reducing in the scheduled commercial banks and also in the other banks also. See, gross performing assets in 2000, it has been reducing also. You see, this is a case. Now, what is this bad loans? What are the NPAs, etc.? See, NPA means, see, first term you have to know is standard assets. Okay, standard assets. I'll write it here. Standard assets. What are the standard assets? That means loan account where the borrower is paying principal plus interest rates. That is called as a standard assets. Okay. Now, if the borrower is not paying the principal plus interest, either the principal or the interest from first day, 1 day to 30 days, they are mentioned under special mention account 0. They are called as a special mention account 0. If he is not paying 30 days to 60 days, it is called as special mention account 1. And if it is 61 to 90 days, that is 31 to 60, 90 days, It is called as your special mention account 2. Then after 90 days, it will be declared as your NPA, non-performing assets. But farm loans are not calculated based on this. Farmer loans on cropping seasons, they are calculated. Right? Now, we have to know, we have just now seen that what is net NPA means. Net NPA means gross minus provisioning. Now, what do you mean by provisioning? See here, these provisionings are making the ability of the banks to reduce their borrowing programs or lending programs. Okay, see what will they have to do in the provisioning. Whenever they are giving the loans, okay, whenever they are providing the loans to the customers or to the borrowers, what they have to do, their account, if they are spelled into more than special mention account or NPA. See, for example, A has taken a loan from the bank, and the bank is provided the loan. See, A has deposited 100 crores and 80 crores has been provided to X person. Now, X is not paying interest. X is not paying the principal amount for more than 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. It might be special mention account or NPA. It might go to the NPA also. At this situation, 80 crores of rupees, you see here. This 80 crores, what happens? Simply, out of this 80 crores, whenever the banks get the deposits, suppose the B is depositing 100 crores again, he cannot lend the loan. That means out of the 80 crores, 20%, or it might be prescribed. So 10%, 20%, 30% of this deposit, new deposits, has to be kept with the bank, and bank cannot lend the loan. That is called as a provisioning. Means whenever the default is taking place or the borrowers is not paying the principal for interest, at that time the bank has to go for provisioning. That means out of this 80 crores, suppose 20 crores are gone for CRR SLR. How much there is? 80 crores is left for this one, but 80 crores has to be given for loan, lending. But out of this, suppose a bank has, RBI has prescribed 20% for provisioning because it is NPA. So 20% of 80. How much? 10% is 8 crores, 16 crores. So 16 crores they have to kept with the bank as an idle. They cannot lend the loan. That means bank's ability to earn the interest rates on them reduced because of the NPS. Okay, or because of the provisioning which they are doing. So once this 90 days, you see, this is a 90 days of provisioning has been done. Now, highest gross NPA is in industries, and that too highest is in infrastructure and electricity, then agriculture sector, then service sector, then retail sector. Now, you see the standard or substandard assets. See, substandard assets, if I am not giving the loan principal plus interest for more than 12 months, that loan will be called as a substandard assets. Then if it is more than, that is in between 90 days to 12 months, 90 days to 12 months, it is called substandard assets. Then more than 12 months, if it has occurred, it is called as a doubtful assets. Doubtful. I am very, very doubtful now. Okay. Now, after 3 years, 1 to 3 years, it is called as loan write-off. They will write off from the balance sheets. That is called as your NPAs. Now, what they do generally, they restructure the loans. Okay, we have seen what is a stressed assets. They will restructure the loan written off, and NPAs are called stressed assets. Now, suppose if the banks allow the borrowers to cut 60% of their dues, okay, 60%, and forgoes 40% loss. See, out of 100 crores, the borrowers has taken, the bank said, sir, you are unable to pay, how much you can pay? Okay, one time settlement. Okay, this is called as OTS, one time settlement. Suppose you pay 60%, sir, 40% cut is there, and that 40% cut is called haircut. It is called as OTS with haircut, hair cutting or haircut. This is called as an haircut, right? So provisioning increases, your provisioning will increase, the profit for the banks will go down because they have to maintain more CAR and also they have to follow the Basel norms, right? So non-performing assets, these are your non-performing assets, right? Now, there was a committee which was formed called as KV Kamath committee, and this committee, they recommended, mainly they have recommended for these things. What are these things? KV Kamath committee, 20 sectors. What are that? See, lenders asked to mandatory consider the following ratio to decide the restructuring: total outside liabilities, total debt by the EBITDA easy lending road, and current ratio, debt service coverage ratio, average debt service coverage ratio, lending institute free to consider other financial parameters as well. So these are the parameters which has been described. See, they can ask you, they will not ask you what is this parameters, but they can ask you which of the following are the recommendations that have been made in this. Okay, then we have to know SARFAESI Act, what was there in this SARFAESI Act, etc. Right now, SARFAESI Act, originally it came in the year 2002. I told you that how this SARFAESI Act works. See, previously the SARFAESI, under the SARFAESI Act, they have to go for the, before 2002, for recovering the loan amount, they have to approach the courts. But now the banks have been empowered as a courts, so that they can provide the loans. So whatever the loans they have been provided, they can recover it from the customers. So under the Security Act, under this only, the ARC has been established, Asset Reconstruction Company. So bad loans of the banks or NPS will be purchased by the Asset Reconstruction Company and they will take over it, right? So bad loans, Asset Reconstruction Company and borrowers. See, security. And one more thing, this under the SARFAESI Acts, who all are coming, which lenders have the SARFAESI Acts? First one is all types of banks comes under the SARFAESI Act, number one. Second, housing financial companies, they can also come. And if any NBFCs has to come, NBFCs, non-banking financial companies, they have to fulfill two conditions. One condition is that the minimum size, asset size, NBFCs having the size, asset size should be greater than 100 crores of rupees. Number one. Second, the loans at least that should be given is more than 50 lakhs of rupees, at least 50 lakhs of rupees. Then only they can come. But in the year budget 2021, budget 2021, 20 and 21, they have reduced the loan to 20 lakhs only. Now, the 20 lakhs, those who have given, those NBFCs who have given 20 lakhs also, they can also take the initiatives under the SARFAESI Act to recover the loans. Okay. And also Supreme Court gave the directions in 2020. Supreme Court gave the direction that Yes Bank and all the cooperative banks also comes under your SARFAESI power. SARFAESI power. They all comes under the SARFAESI powers. Okay. So, but IBC, two things why the NPA have improved. One is IBC, that is called as your Insolvency Bankruptcy Code, and the other thing is SARFAESI Act. SARFAESI Act 20 or 2002. These are the things. Now, insolvency bankruptcy code. So before going to that, what is the difference between insolvency and bankruptcy? What is the difference between the insolvency and bankruptcy? We'll see. See, first of all, it covers both secured and unsecured loans. Who? The insolvency bankruptcy code covers secured and unsecured loans or financial creditors. Right? But SARFAESI Act covers only secured financial creditors. Number 1 point. Okay. IBC, separate authority is there. Okay, that is called, there are two separate authorities which are dealing with the cases of IBCs. One is NCLT, National Company Law Tribunal, and DRT, Debt Recovery Tribunal. SARFAESI DRT is acting as a qualification for both. That is for the SARFAESI Act. Okay, that means both means IBC and SARFAESI Act. DRT here. Now, what is this IBC is all about? Okay, IBC, mainly the IBC, Insolvency Bankruptcy Code 2016. Who all can have also comes under this in 2020. Okay, RERA, that is Real Estate Regulatory Authority Act. Under this, home office or buyers who are buying homes and office buyers, they are the financial creditors. So they are home buyers, they are financial creditors. There also comes under this. Okay, please watch my video previously. What is IBC? In my channel, it is there. So here I'm not going to discuss about the IBC. So builders are nothing but if they are unable to finish the project or unable to repay the loan, then home buyers, these buyers can take a resolution to collect the amount or collect the credits back into that. That is called as your this thing. Okay, that is your IBC which has been regulated, or IBC amendment which has been done. Right? Now, what is the regulatory forbearance? Okay, what is regulatory forbearance? Actually, up to, it is nothing but simply a restructure of the loans or a stressed NPS, increasing the restructure of the loans, comma NPAs, okay, borrowers, etc. Now, why they are doing? What happened? Why? See, it is a temporary relief. Actually, regulatory forbearance is a temporary relief. Actually, in the year 2007 and 8, what happened? There was a global financial crisis. So RBI has reduced its tightening or reduce its what the RBI has done, because of the financial crisis, they have reduced or they have loosened the policies. Tightening of the policies has been loosened. So 2007, because of the 2007 and 8 subprime and global financial crisis, RBI continued lax monitoring or reduced its tightening of the policies. So what their banks have done, banks exploited these forbearance windows to restructure the loans. And they started, because of that, banks started lending more, borrowing more loans and lending more loans. This has increased the inflation. And, banks has to encourage, what happened? They have increased the inflation and zombie lending took place. And also companies were taking the loans to repay their previous loans. That is called evergreening. So evergreening was also done. That means simply, under this, it is nothing but restricting, loosening of or loosening of tie, or it is lax monitoring, or it is nothing but loosening the policies of the RBI. So what happened? Evergreening took place. What is evergreening? Evergreening means companies were taking the loans to pay the previous loans. So NPA doubled, and many banks or loan scams took place, like ICICI Vodafone loan scam, Yes Bank scam, then PNB scam, then also Punjab Maharashtra Corporate Bank scam. So what happened during up to 2007 to 2008, because of the global financial crisis, the regulatory forbearance was introduced. Now NPS were increased, inflation increased, etc. Now what happened during 2015, when the NPS were high, the RBI came up with the tightening of this policy. So they started tightening the policy. But recently, due to the coronavirus, COVID-19, RBI again announced a regulatory forbearance measure. That means under this, what happened? They have started loan moratorium. Okay, restructuring of the loans, but it should not be continued for a long time. If it is continued, see, once the economic recover, bank should order to conduct asset quality review and take corrective measures and stop this regulatory forbearance. Otherwise, again, it will be going into the NPA, etc. Okay, this is your regulatory. Then